Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Education meeting for Wednesday, July 11th, 2018 to order. Can I have a roll call, please, Mr. Alexandrovich?
Yes. Mrs. Witkowski.
Here.
Mr. Gamble.
Here.
Mr. Nielsen.
Here.
Mrs. Evans.
Here.
Mr. Lewis is excused. Mrs. Larson.
Here.
And I am here.
Thank you. And the meeting has been properly posted. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Larson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nielsen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4 is community comment. Would anyone like to make community comment this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, school board announcements. Do we have any announcements tonight? Any announcements? Go ahead.
Are we going to make the announcement about receiving the money from the state at that special meeting that we are at?
Well, we can make that announcement. I'm sure a lot of the community and administration and district knows that the district did receive their grant from the Department of Justice. Dr. Miller, would you like to speak to that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we had applied for the grant funds that were available to us through the state to improve safety within our school district, and we have received that award now. So we are moving forward with our plans to utilize that money to make our facilities safer. So we're very happy about that, and those plans will be implemented now and in place when school begins.
So we did receive that award on Monday from the Attorney General Schimmel and Mr. Alexandrovich, myself, and our district manager of Building and Grounds, Mr. Mark Cloutier, did go to receive the award. So we were very pleased to be able to do that. And then, Ms. Elhausen, would you like to make an announcement for us?
I would like to introduce and welcome Christy. Over here, sitting in the front, is our new communications manager. This is Christy Pedriana Bowden, and she is a proud Franklin grad. So welcome to Christy. She earned her degree from UW-Milwaukee in journalism and mass communication. She built her career from the ground up in marketing agencies from both small to large. She's handled very large accounts for clients, autonomously learning their core business principles and then creating plans for them that met their needs around their marketing strategies. She's described as very passionate, self-starter, outgoing personality, great tenacity, and drive. So we are super excited to have her join our team. She started this week and dove right in with us in the past couple of days during coherence planning. So I just wanted to introduce her and have her see your faces, and she'll see hers from this point forward, and welcome her to our team.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. And I have one announcement. The board has already heard about it, but just a reminder, the Franklin's 14th Annual National Night Out Kickoff Celebration will be held on Monday, August 6th, 2018, from 6 until 9 p.m. at the Franklin Public Library. And this is the kickoff celebration, and the actual National Night Out is the following day on August 7th from 7 to 10 p.m. And this is the 35th Annual National Night Out. And if there's no other announcements, we'll move to the consent agenda. Would any board member like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Witkowski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gamble. All those in favor of the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, school board calendar. We have a Board of Education retreat on Wednesday, August 8th, 2018, here at the Education and Community Center at 6 o'clock p.m. A regular Board of Education meeting Wednesday, August 22nd, 2018, here at the ECC at 5:30 p.m., followed by the annual meeting of the electors Wednesday, August 22nd, 2018, here at the Education and Community Center at 6 o'clock p.m. or as soon thereafter, after the 5:30 p.m. meeting here at the ECC. And item 8, reports, presentations, and other school board business. We have 8A, the library plan approval. Mr. Reuter.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Ms. Luann Zielinski, our District Technology Coordinator, and Ms. Jill Poglace, our K-12 Library Media Systems Specialist, to join us this evening. As you saw in board docs, there was a memo discussing some of the changes that have occurred at the state level and requirements. I know that in the past, we've had a 3-year ITL plan that Ms. Zielinski can speak more to previously what that entailed and how that's kind of disappeared from a requirement at the state level. I believe Ms. Witkowski, you served on that committee the last time around in 2015. Since then, the Department of Public Instruction has asked school districts to have a library media service plan on file. And in the report that we provided, we wanted to not only share 3 goals that we have that we look at through the lens of library programming moving forward K-12, but also provide you a current state of our school libraries and what's going on from a standpoint of circulation, some of the new ebooks and experiences that kids are part of, as well as the databases and the operations and functions of our library. So that was outlined in the report to you, as well as the 3 goals that we've determined based on feedback from ITL staff, ITLS staff within the libraries at each of our 7 schools, teachers, as well as Ms. Zielinski, Ms. Poglace, and myself, and building level principals. So with that, I would just turn it over to you to see if you have questions about that plan, the current state, or those goal areas that any of the 3 of us can answer this evening.
Regarding the goal, I believe it was goal 2 for the quarterly collaboration with the public library, what do you envision for the collaboration besides the summer school program? I mean, is there anything else, such as visiting the library with the students or having the director come to the schools or anything like that?
Right now, I believe Ben Franklin has visited the library. They're within walking distance, they're very close. I think they've done tours with the kids. I also believe Ben Franklin has a literacy day where they've had the public library come in and do some reading with the students. We're trying to figure out, can we grow that into the other buildings? What would that look like? If all the buildings don't do a literacy day, that might not work. So it may look a little different at each building. We're kind of trying to figure out what is best going to fit each building with that collaboration.
I can add as well, kindergarten, I believe at Ben Franklin and Countrydale this year, brought over their kindergarten students during the library hours during the day for a short period of time to share some of the narrative writing they've done to read to community members. It's something that kindergarten teachers have approached me of, could we do this system-wide? There's a lot of logistics of busing and the proximity of schools and getting 20, 50 kindergartners on a bus over there. But those are things that we need to, as the teachers want to do it, the kids want to do it, and I believe our community wants to see our students in action. You think about just the kids that have showed up to board meetings this last year and shared their learning and understanding. It's a great way to build better community. So those are some of the partnerships. How can we build that over time?
I suppose even using something like Skype or something,
Right?
somehow, yeah. Okay, thank you.
And do we even know how involved our students are in the public library? I mean, do we ask them? Do you have a card, or have you?
When we promote the public library, we encourage them. We get flyers from the public library on here's programming, and we post in the library, and the library staff talks to the students about them. They encourage library cards. I don't think it was this year, one of the previous years, we gave them the information, here's how you can sign up for a library card. With the younger students, they have to have a parent signature, so it's not something that can be done totally in school. You can do just the information. In my conversations with the staff at the library, they see a lot of our kids there, from the younger ones up to the high school.
As you look at the action for the year 3 of Goal 3, understanding their circulation rates of adolescent and young adult literature, and then how that correlates to our circulation rates, and then seeing what are the similarities. And obviously, anyone can access books through the public library system, and they can be shipped out to other communities, but are we seeing the same trends of checkout rates at our public library to our school libraries? And that helps inform both of us as we continue to build our collections as well as weed our collections.
Just a couple. And I know that, so you're just pretty much focused on books, I'm imagining, because, our public library has an extensive, music collection and video collection. You're just focused on books, is that right?
The databases, which are 24/7 access, the electronic books, which are 24/7 access. I'm looking more at things like that fall into meeting the curricular needs for the students, because the libraries aren't open 24/7. If there are resources available to them while they're home at night or somewhere else, they can access that resource to get their homework done, work on their project. So it's not just print books.
A little different topic. I'm also wondering how, I know that we're building classroom libraries because it's part of the workshop model.
Literacy curriculum, yes.
How does that relate to the books inventoried in this report? Or do teachers do that totally on their?
The teacher classroom libraries live in their classrooms. They use the school library to supplement that, and we have seen a large increase in use of resources from our libraries out in the classrooms for different topics in literacy, whether maybe they're studying westward expansion, and there's a whole list of westward expansion books that go out in the classroom. They may not have all those resources, so we supplement.
And I would say that our new literacy curriculum has increased the circulation, and it's increased the collaboration of the library programming and curriculum programming. Our literacy coaches work extremely close with Jill compared to how that previously worked as we think about the curricular needs within the classroom, our fourth grade unit on westward expansion, and we have classroom library books that are at level and maybe above or below just slightly based on Fontes and Pinnell and running record levels. But then when we have student need that may dip lower or higher, we work with Jill and the ITL aides to build a more robust classroom library supplementing from our school libraries. And that can even mean moving books from Ben Franklin's library over to Southwood Glen because maybe those classroom libraries need a little more work there than at another building. So we're circulating district-wide and not living isolated building to building.
And are those classroom libraries where we want them, or are we still growing them? Or?
I think like any library, it's never where you want it, right? You continue to grow. So this year you'll see in the teaching and learning budget, there's been money set aside for that. We continue to build and build. And I've used this in conversation with parents. Jim and I just met about this very topic. When I first started at the middle school, the Twilight series was the coolest thing in the world, right? Those big, thick books. Find me a middle school kid that wants to read that book right now. So just like anything, themes change, or ideas and what's popular changes as our kids change and their interests change. So we have to keep our literature up to date so we can hook them and help them find the just right book so that they grow to love reading beyond what we ask them to do in school, but lifelong. So partnering with the public library, we want to help develop that too. So that's why we had goals around summer reading and that ebook circulation and building that robust network.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the Franklin Public Schools 2018 Library Media Plan. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Larson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Witkowski. Is there any discussion? Here,
So there'll be reports back, annually or on?
Yeah, this is similar to like the Education for Employment plan where there's a plan put in place, and then that's why we set goals long-term, so we can provide you updates on how that's working and the partnerships with the public library and what that looks like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
all right. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Item 8B, the annual academic standards adoption. Mr. Cohn?
Good evening. State statute requires that every July, the board approve both our academic standards in some core areas for the year, upcoming school year, as well as our public notice that'll be going out regarding those standards. And so I've provided you paper copies of both the annual notice and the report highlighting the standards. You're going to notice that compared to prior years, there are no changes in standards other than the addition of the personal financial literacy standards that the board approved in April. And so those will be added now to the annual approval list. I printed these documents for you because the drafts in front are slightly different than the board docs version. We cleaned up the language on the actual titles of the standards to reflect the language that DPI is using for those standards. So the language that was there previously was language that was tied to the national version of those standards, and so we've changed it now so that it reflects accurately what that language is. And so that's the change, and so that's why I've provided you the paper version of those copies. So we'll be looking for a motion to approve both the notice, public notice, and the standards for the 18-19 school year.
So I'm looking for a motion. Do you want the notice first, or it doesn't matter?
You can do them both in the same motion.
Okay. Looking for a motion to adopt the 2018-19 student academic standards and notice for the Franklin Public School District.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nielsen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gamble. Any discussion?
I just noticed that under history and geography, though previously there were 3. Now there's only 2.
The standards document actually includes all of those standards within one document. So the title that's there is the title of the social studies standards, and then within that link are the actual standards listed for those other areas.
For geography and history?
Yes.
Okay.
I have one question. You know, we approve our standards every year, and when I looked over all the standards done by the state, you have social studies, they were from 1998, and literacy 2006, and English 2010, literacy and mathematics 2010. Does the state, do you think they look those over every year, or do you think?
The state has regular cycles where they look to update their standards, and in fact, the state has just adopted this past May a new set of social studies standards, and so we'll be looking at those in the future in terms of whether or not we need to adopt those and update. But the state is certainly reviewing their standards all the time, and as there's changes both nationally and within the state, they're making updates to those standards and changing them.
Because even they say that it's up to us to have the rigorous curriculum and how we implement it. That's what really counts, so.
Right.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Just to point out that we set our standards in this district higher than what the state sets their standards anyway. This is just a reference.
Yeah, we make reference to, also in the public notice, we seek to exceed these standards.
Correct.
So we have a motion by Mr. Nielsen, a second by Mr. Gamble. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 8C is the Sabre Center presentation. Mr. Kraus.
Well, thank you for letting me have some of your time tonight. I think the last time I spoke to the board was about 2 years ago. We are now, we've completed our 4th, and we'll soon be into our 5th year of operation. And I'm happy to say that things are going very, very well, and I will give you some specifics about that. But first, I'd like to do a little brag. We had some really, really good news. You may have heard of the Tommy Awards. They're now referred to as the Jerry's. I would like to give some people some recognition for that. The 2 big awards on that are Outstanding Musical and Outstanding Overall Design. Unfortunately, we didn't get Outstanding Musical, but for the second time, we did receive the Outstanding Overall Design Award. There were 89 schools involved. We were one of 3 that got that award. Last time we got it for Fiddler. Well, this time we got it from Mermaid. And I was happy to share the scenic design credit with two of our outstanding adult volunteers, Gary Elkins and Carrie Ramsden. Gary did a lot of building and Carrie did some fantastic painting. So it's nice to get some community members involved in our process. Plus, we end up with a better product. Our costume designers, Laura Hughes and Liz Joyle, were also recognized. And I got a jury for sound and for lights. So we brought that home to Franklin. We're starting to get a little more state recognition for what we do with our musicals, and I'm really pleased about that. There are also a series of individual awards. They're way more than like an honorable mention. They're actually a substantial recognition. And Colleen Jaklowski, our director, received one. Amy Cowell, our choreographer, got it for Outstanding Choreographer. And student Sarah Milcher got the Spirit Award. The one I'm most proud of are two stage managers, student stage managers, Lillian Nichols and Caitlin Schmidt, got Outstanding Stage Management. That was a really hard show to call. They did a great job, and frequently stage managers don't get a lot of recognition. Well, this time, both Lillian and Caitlin were recognized by the Jerrys, and I couldn't be prouder. Okay, moving on. When I was hired 4 years ago, I was commissioned with responsibility, job one, of making the Sabre Center a really effective performing arts education and just general education facility. So everything springs from a statement I think you're probably real familiar with, our overall district mission statement. And as I got into the job and I was working with everybody and started to determine how we go about doing that, I kind of distilled the Sabre Center, what it does and how it can work towards this mission into 4 objectives. The first, I hope, is fairly self-evident, that we provide a venue platform for the support and enhancement of FPS performing arts and other educational programs. And within that, we provide logistical and technical support for the needs of these same programs. That's where the stage crew and I come in. The stage crew is a activity, it's like an official sport or club within the school. We meet every day and evenings and weekends whenever we're doing shows, and basically help make the show happen. And we work as a team with all of the performers, and I am so grateful that my colleagues get that. The whole idea of company, as it's called, a theatrical unit, is called that for a reason. You have people doing very divergent things but working towards a common goal, and our musical is probably our best example of that. And we've got it working, and we have a really good thing going here at Franklin, and I think we're proving it with some of our products that we're coming up with. And even more importantly, when you have that logistical and technical support, our directors and students can concentrate on their work, on the music, and not have to fight the room. I've heard the horror stories of what was jokingly called the old multi-useless room. It's also really hard. A gym is not very conducive to an orchestra concert or choir concert or any concert. So we have this wonderful facility, and as a team, we can produce these concerts, and the directors and students can concentrate on the music, and the other stuff we'll take care of. And educationally, that's really the way it needs to be. Now, in terms of our district families and the larger Franklin community, they can come and partake and engage in the talents of our students. And that's what we do every time we do a concert or a play. We have all these offerings for the community, and our attendance numbers, I'll get to that at the end, our attendance numbers keep going up. So that's a really wonderful thing. And they get to do this in a very audience-friendly venue. Before the Sabre Center, I don't know that there was a place in Franklin where a parent could come, sit in a nice chair, in a comfortable environment, and actually see and hear their child sing. So we have that now, and that is one of the big reasons the Sabre Center exists. And we have been doing it, as I say, for 4 years, and I think we've got it right. We're going to continue doing that, And I will tell you a little bit of what we're doing after my last statement here. The last objective that we've determined for the Sabre Center is to provide a performance venue for incoming events of interest to the school and community. We are working on that. I want to do more. We've brought some incoming shows, road shows, things off the national tour, things that are local, that are of interest to the school and community. But with that, I need to mention, it's not quite as easy as you might think, because it does actually cost a lot of money to do that. So I'm always looking for opportunities for shows at low or no cost. And the best of all possible worlds is if you can solicit and get someone to rent the facility who also does a show. And we have 2 of those currently. But we are looking for those opportunities. You see, the way it works is the guest artist is paid a flat fee. They do not take any risk on ticket sales. You do, the presenter. So the sky's the limit as to what a performance or artist fee might be, but you might start around $3,000 to $5,000 for a small show, and it goes way up. Well, you pay the artist, they come in, they do their show, and then you hope you sell enough tickets to cover your costs, or get other sources of funding. Grants are getting harder and harder to get these days. Corporate sponsorship, but I'm not going to belabor that point. The point is, we have made some successful attempts at this, and we're going to continue to pursue it. So basically, what have we been doing? I have this handout. Now don't worry, I'm not going to go through all of these, but I wanted to highlight a few of them. Here are examples categorized of what we've been doing. The ones that we typically will think of first, and because they're very, very important, are our classes. The classes that require a performance space, band, choir, orchestra, all the way K through 12. We've gradually introduced all the elementaries. We're still working on PV choir, but all of our groups end up at the Sabre Center at one time or another to present a concert to the public. And with that, we have co-curricular activities, these right here, most notably the fall play and the musical. But we also have other groups using the space. The list is there. One I'm particularly fond of is the football team will come down and do their weekly meeting. I played high school football, so that's a lot of fun for me. When Coach Brown brings the guys down, and it smells like sweat socks for about a half hour. But it's a nice utilization of the theater. Academic usage. This is when other classes in the high school literally come down and do their class activity in the theater. With AP Psych, they brought in a hypnotist a couple of times, and that was kind of wild. This one is new. We're going to do it this year. AP Science is coming in, and for 2 weeks during 3B, they're doing, one student will present their research. There's a panel discussion with other students. It's kind of like being scientists in training, and they'll be using the theater for that purpose. We also have our class meetings, so we've had Shakespeare workshops and the other stuff that's there. And Student Services is using the theater constantly, and probably the most ever this next year, especially at the beginning of the year when they need to get the kids together and plan their year. And then again in December when they're scheduling their second semester. So I've got Student Services in gold blocks primarily, probably a total of a month and a half or so. That's good. That's why we're there, and we're using the space for that purpose all the time. We have other academic events. The list is fairly self-explanatory, but I want to hit a couple here. We brought in Milwaukee Youth Theater, right here. They did a production of Midsummer Night's Dream for our English classes. We did a similar thing with the Eau Claire Symphony for our music classes. We did a joint concert with Verona. They were on their way to New York. They came in and did a joint concert with our group, and basically we filled that stage with a lot of musicians. And then this final one was really powerful. We've done that twice, where Vietnam War veterans come in and talk to and with the kids. And we're hoping to do that again sometime soon. Now here are some of the sponsored events I was talking about. We brought in the 132nd Army Band. That is probably going to be an every other year thing because of their schedule. That one didn't cost us anything. We were able to offer it to the community for free. In fact, that's one of the requirements. The Army doesn't let you charge, which is fine. I'm looking for those opportunities to bring more of that kind of activity, more of those kind of concerts into the space. We have done cyber safety presentations. Missoula Children's Theater, we're bringing in for the second time this year. That is a district-sponsored activity. It is now offered through Ed and Rec. And Missoula comes in, we audition students on a Monday morning, and K through 8. Our K through 8 population right now is a little bit underserved when it comes to musical theater and drama. So that's why we picked that age group. Audition on a Monday morning, up to 60 kids can be in the show. It's theater boot camp for a week, and then 2 performances on Saturday. Now, the theater purist in me first wondered, you know, how could you possibly do this in a week? You ought to see these people work. They're phenomenal. It's a little bit cookie cutter, but it's good cookie cutter, if that makes any sense. But the most important thing is it's getting the kids up on stage to sing and dance and be part of a live performance. So that's one, as you can tell, I'm pretty excited about, and that's going to happen at the end of this month. And we brought in the band and brought in the UW marching band. Well, it's essentially the marching band. That is a rockin' show. Now, they haven't announced their tour schedule yet for this year, so I don't know when or how. The stars kind of have to align with our calendars, but they don't let you know their availability until like end of September. I'm gonna go for it though. If we can get those guys in there again, they blew the doors off the place in a really good way. Rentals. Now, we are not a commercial theater, nor would I think we'd want to move in that direction, because that becomes a question of calendar time. And if we, well, first off, there isn't that much business out there. But if we were to move in that direction, we'd have to look at compromising much of what we do as a district. So my job is to, when I get rental inquiries or I go out after a particular rental hoping to get them in the space, be careful that it does never interfere with our ed program. So as you can see, we've had some dance companies, we have some returning renters, for instance, Next Step. The Milwaukee Chinese Community Center, yeah, it says Milwaukee, not Franklin. Well, they have a lot of their people who live in Franklin. So there are quite a few of our residents are actually involved in that group. Southwestern Suburban Symphony, they rent the space. They've done 2 concerts here. They're doing the Beach Boys over at the Sports Center. I was approached initially about having the Beach Boys here, and I thought that would be great, except it didn't fit. It's too big of a show. As a matter of fact, it's sort of an amphitheater size, like Marcus, or now it's called American Family Amphitheater, or small arena. And especially when you had a 50-piece orchestra. I would have loved to have had them here. We couldn't do it. So at any rate, I hope to have Southwest Suburban Symphony back in for their symphonic show again sometime in the foreseeable future. And Stargate, that was another symphony. That was a one in and out. But right here, Midwest Vocal Express. They're new. They rented last year and did 2 really fun Christmas shows called What the Dickens. Play on Charles Dickens. But it's a barbershop group, and I've known about them for a long time. So this is that situation, like best case scenario, where a group comes in, rents the theater, and presents a show to your community. They're coming back. Well, I just confirmed that this week. They'll be coming back this December. So I'm always looking for that kind of opportunity as well. Then a couple others. We have done a couple vitally important Heroin in the Suburbs presentations. In fact, that was our opener back in September of 14. That was our first public presentation. So we'll use the space for vitally important information for the community as well. We've had the Honor Flight presentation in here twice, and we also do the Wisconsin Education Fair. So at any rate, I just wanted to give you an idea how much we've grown, the kind of things we're bringing in, the different facets of our utilization. We keep the place pretty busy. Again, always with that primary objective that goes back to our district mission statement of making it about what we are doing for the students and also for the community. How do we tell people about what we're doing? The website is probably our best tool. It's really difficult to do publicity in the suburbs, but we do try and get out in the newsletter, and Megan is helping with that, but they'll only put so much in, and we have a lot that we do. So one of our primary tools is the website. Mouse over there. And I don't know if you've been there, but this is what it looks like. He said, hopefully. Yeah, here it is. And In it, there are a lot of places you can go. I'm not going to go through the navigation of the website, but directions. We have online ticketing now and have for the past 2 years. That's how you get to it. Or there is a direct link. You may have noticed we have our own domain name, sabercenter.com. For tickets, it's sabercentertickets.com. So you can get to it that way as well. Then what I did want to show you is down here. I can have up to 6 events displayed here. Right now I'm concentrating on Missoula, on the auditions and then the performances. And you can go to the full calendar, but that's exactly what it is. It's everything that's happening in the space. Every show needs at least 1 or more rehearsals when we do our plays, a couple weeks. If you go to the full calendar, you can find when a rehearsal is, when an event is, when the school day stuff happens. That's a lot of information on a calendar. So we also have, for the public who's just looking for when the shows happen, this right here, printable schedule, and this is current. This is printable. It gives you the whole year. We'll be adding quite a few things to it yet, but basically, I'm gonna scroll here. You can go through the whole year. These are the performances. So if the public wants to look at when a specific show is, we have that as well. And it's kind of a shortcut compared to the calendar.
Are they linked, or, there's no
I'm sorry?
links, there's no links off of this? Link
Yeah.
to, the tickets or anything like that, you have to go back to the ticket thing.
Hyperlinks
A
aren't
lot of
they?
those you wouldn't need tickets for, they're just school performances.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, okay, I wasn't understanding the question. I do have links for the ones that require tickets, purchase. The other ones, and that was a statement, I won't go back to it, but there's a statement at the bottom of that list that says, most of our shows are free to the public, general admission, unless otherwise indicated. And then, yes, we do have a hyperlink that'll take you to the ticket purchase page. Now, we're pretty new, so we haven't had to do much by way of facility upgrades, but I stay on top of that. Our first year was about kicking the tires and making sure all systems and equipment worked properly under warranty, and that went pretty well. We had a few things we had to fix. But then the second year and beyond is operating the systems and doing any customizations or any tweaking that we need to do to meet our needs. And through the past 4 years, we've been discovering what those needs are. So I've been able to take the systems and equipment and make them do that very thing. I will do an occasional upgrade, well, software upgrades all the time. I just recently upgraded our comm system, a little bit on the lighting system, but we are in very good shape overall with the facility, and it's a big part of my job to keep it that way. We do an annual screen and seal of the stage floor. That's something we'll need to do for at least 5 years before we can think about skipping a year. But that's a maintenance thing that we're doing, and basically, we're still new enough that no major system upgrades have been necessary, but we're keeping what we have running really well and right up to date. I mentioned the online ticketing. I guess you could consider that an upgrade. That was new as of 2 years ago. We had a big demand for it. And also, we've moved all our box office operations from the main high school office to the Sabre Center where they belong. And the district has been terrific about allowing me to hire some part-time help to do that. We'll do ticket sales in the evenings and during the shows. But we found, well, with Mermaid, about 85% of our tickets were sold online. But we still offer the box office option for those people who, well, it's $1 a ticket online, which is actually pretty cheap compared to a lot of ticketing services. But some people don't want to do that. And some of our senior citizen patrons don't like hassling online. So we also keep the box office open a week before each show in evenings to make that happen. Okay, well, that is it pretty much in a nutshell. The last thing I wanted to share with you is the number of people we've had come see our events. In our theater, what I'm about to show you here is exactly that. Our concerts, our plays, the stuff that we do primarily in the evenings, unless of course we have a matinee, and this does not include all of the copious activity we do during the day. In other words, this is basically people in chairs who've seen shows in our facility. Our count is 18,853. Our house manager does that count every night. Sometimes he's not real crazy about it because when you have a lot of people, it's a lot to count. No, Todd is great. I wouldn't trade him for the world. But that's one of his jobs, is to count all the people. So that's a pretty big number, and it has been steadily increasing as we move forward, and I anticipate that it will continue to do so. So, thank you very much for your time. I'm more than happy to entertain any questions. And I'm happy to hang around after the meeting as well, if you think of something.
I have a question.
Sure.
How does our auditorium compare in size to, say, Greendale High School's auditorium? Bigger or smaller?
I think we're little. They're very comparable. I forget what their house capacity is, but I know like Mosquito is 772, Greendale, I think, I don't know, I think it's like in the 700s.
Okay.
But they're about the same size. You have to go out to find a smaller one, like the Wilson Center is appreciably smaller, but that 650 to 800 range is pretty common, and we're at 850. So that's 844 physical chairs and 6 ADA spaces.
Thank you.
So what's the musical?
We're doing a new show called The Drowsy Chaperone. I've heard of it. It's a good show. I haven't gotten a script yet, so I'm afraid I can't tell you much about it. But it's kind of nice to do a newer piece. And it's been done a lot in the area by other high schools. I believe, what is it, Kenosha Tremper just did it, and they got an outstanding musical at the Jerry's for it. So, I wish I could tell you more about it, but I haven't read the script yet. But I think it's kind of cool that we are doing a newer piece.
And you mentioned that every class does get over there? I mean, they don't do their concerts in the grade school, they go to the Saber Center?
They're actually doing both.
Oh, they're doing both, okay.
But with the exception of PV Choir, at one time or another, all of choir, band, orchestra comes over, and like Robinwood and Country Dale come over multiple times.
Okay.
Especially Robin, when you're being so big, it's kind of hard for them to fit their concerts elsewhere.
And parents enjoy that as opposed to the traditional gym
yeah.
setting?
You got a place to park,
Oh, yeah.
you got a place to sit, and you can hear and see. Yeah, they like it pretty well.
Okay.
4 years is going pretty fast.
Yeah, it really has.
You know.
And I feel we've got a really good start, and I'm looking forward to keep moving. There are still things we can move towards. I'd like to get some more shows for the community in here, but I honestly believe we have fulfilled our objective. Again, I'll refer back to the district mission statement and my initial responsibility I was commissioned with. I can with great confidence say we are one of the most successful and best operating performing arts education facilities in the state, and I know most of them. I belong to an association, Wisconsin Presenters Network. Quick word there, myself and a couple people in WPN have started a subgroup specifically for school-owned performing arts centers, because in WPN it's a lot of professional theaters and colleges and that kind of thing. We have a presence there, and they're popping up all over the place, and I hope we can, I know we can stand an example of how to do it right.
It's just been a real pleasure being on the inside of the ropes, if you will, as much as I've personally been. I said 4 years is going fast because that's when my youngest started high school. Now she just graduated, so in a blink. It's been neat to see all the shows, been at them all. It's a fantastic facility. You guys got to get there. Midwest Vocal Express was a great find. They've been in Greendale forever. And the fact that they're over here, and it's a great space, so great work.
I
You've been doing
quoted
great
them
work.
pretty heavily.
Yeah, it's
Now I'm hoping that they will be perennial.
yeah, so, excellent.
Congratulations on a job well done, and just what does the Jerry stand for?
Jerry, I forget his last name, but he was a philanthropist who was largely responsible for the Overture Center happening. I'm probably going to get the number wrong, but he donated something insane, like $125 million. And they were talking about it. I went to a little reception for the design award recipients, and they were talking about that. I had been after Tom Wapat, who was the dark-haired guy in Dukes of Hazzard. he got himself into a little bit of trouble, and they decided to change it. And I say, good. Yeah, that Jerry was responsible, as I say, largely responsible for the Overture Center being there in the first place.
Thank
So it's not an acronym as much as it's after a person.
Yeah, it's a guy's name.
It's after a person, yeah.
Thank you.
So we were actually inadvertently calling them the Tom and Jerry Awards there for a while.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
And like I said, I'll hang around if you think of anything else. I'll be happy to entertain more questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 8D is the 2018-19 District Budget Draft Number 1 approval. Mr. Milzer.
Just to recap where we are in the process, the budget we have tonight is our preliminary budget for the year. As I explained, there are a lot of estimates in that. We won't have our final numbers till October when we do our final budget. But this budget does move us forward. It contains funds for all of the initiatives we've talked about, the staffing plan we talked about, the safety expenditures related to the grant that we received, and has a projected tax increase of 1.5%, or just under $18 per $100,000 assessed value. It's also that time of year when we look at our budget, we look at our Fund 46, our long-term improvement fund, to see if there's anything we can move over. And as you recall, when we started that fund, we made an initial deposit, and we've held off for the past 3 years to kind of get ourselves in good shape for that. So although we're still working on the 17-18 budget to close it out in July, so I don't have a solid number for that, but I believe we'll be able to do something very substantial along the lines of, I'd say, $2 to $3 million, possibly even closer to $4 million, but it depends on how our 17-18 budget comes out. You know, we've saved money over the past 4 years by always coming in under budget. And as well, we have to look at next year and the tax levy and our state aid formula to make sure that we're not affecting that. So by the end of July, we have to make a transfer from one fund to another for that. So I wanted to let you know that. That is really fantastic news for us, because our list is long, and this will help us get started on some of those expenditures and capital items that we really need without having to ask the public for additional funds.
That's where we can park, basically, are parking money for capital improvements
Yes.
outside of not outside the budget, but kind of in like a fund balance.
Right. Many districts were asking for this because if you keep it in your general fund, it can affect in any given year how much aid you'd get the next year if you make a huge expenditure to do something you need to do. So in response to that, the state created that mechanism where you have this separate fund that you can keep putting money into and then spend it out of there, and then it doesn't affect your state aid for the next year. So it's a great mechanism, and we were one of the first districts to jump on it and get that start. So we weren't able to make any expenditures for the first 5 years. That was one of the rules. And our 5 years will be up next June, at the end of June. We would be able to start looking at moving forward if we're ready to go at that point.
And it rewards those districts that are financially responsible
Exactly.
to be able to do that.
Mhm.
So, good job.
Yeah, it's good news.
Does the money have to be there for 5 years before you can spend it, or the fund just had to exist for 5 years?
The fund just had to exist for that first 5 years, and then after that, you can put money in and take it out as you need to. So tonight, we were looking for board approval of draft number 1 of the 18-19 district budget in the adoption format.
So to clarify, it's just that shorter document, it's not the entire,
Nope, just that short one that says adoption format. It's just the 4 pages with our budget numbers on it.
so I'm looking for a motion to approve the 2018-19 district budget draft number 1. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Larson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Witkowski. Is there any discussion?
So the 3 to 4 million you just spoke of, is that dip into our current fund balance, or is that strictly for the results of the last year?
No, it would be using up the results of 17, 18, and then dipping into fund balance
It would also
to
reduce
to
water.
move the fund balance from 10 to 46. Mhm.
Okay. And so there was state aid notification sent out, right? But that's not final, is that?
It's just a July 1st estimate.
And it would change based on student population? Would that be the only element that would change?
It would change, yeah, so in different years, it'll change if they change how much they're actually giving out, or how it changes for all districts versus our district and how many students we have. So they give us an estimate of the factors that they're using in their calculation to give us some idea of what they're thinking, which is really all that July estimate does for us.
And this also would mean levy is also estimated in this version. It could go down.
Could go down, yes.
Go down.
Mhm.
Just see where we're at.
Right.
So I know we're looking to just adopt the short version here, but I did want to make one comment, and maybe a suggestion, on one of the bullet points that Linda had sent out. That's regarding the tax rate history
Yeah.
in your chart.
Sure.
I do kind of echo the sentiments in that a look back as far as we have in here, I don't think is relevant for me personally. So, but what would be interesting is if, I don't know what that number would be, if it would be a 10-year look back or a 15-year look back, but if you were to look back, let's just say 10 years, there's a significant amount of referendum money that got passed in here. So what I think would actually be almost more relevant is, okay, here's what it was for the last 10 years. However, this amount was through 2 public referendums. And so while the board had to approve it, of course,
Right.
the actual tax levy that the board approved is X, and this is how much was done via referendum. Because I think that might be an interesting number for the public to know, as far as, from a taxing authority, what have we really enacted, and what was approved by the, by the city, by the citizens, rather.
Sure.
So, not to throw a whole lot more work on your plate, but to look back to 1986, for me, doesn't really do a whole lot, but to look back 10 years with those 2 numbers might have more impact for the budget, or for the historical references. I don't know what anybody else thinks about that.
I would agree.
It doesn't bother me to see this. I mean, while the levy, to me, is more important, citizens are kind of stuck on the tax rate, at least from what I see. And it's just a chart,
But to compare a peak from when Bill Clinton was in office,
but it was an important peak.
Right.
I'm just saying, it's, that's
It's just,
I don't know
I mean,
how
if it was
relevant that is
pages,
anymore.
if it was pages, but
so.
I lived through it. I have the scars, so to me, it's a little
So
more
it's
relevant.
personal to you.
I mean,
Well, anyway,
when
that's
it,
what
when
I
it
want.
extends to another page, then you might want to start.
That's the comment I wanted to, just make the
Then we
print
go
smaller,
landscape.
that's all. Yeah, so,
Oh, landscape. I don't know what the
Anyway.
rest of the board thinks.
other than that, I was actually happy to see your projection. It's a decent number.
Any other discussion on that or on anything else? I have one question referring the comment I did send you on my TIF question. I mean, I understand uncollected tax amounts, but it was more regarding the TIF, and I don't know if you know the answer to this question. On a closed TIF in 2011, and it was mostly for our end, it was the industrial park TIF. I don't understand why, for a closed TIF, there are uncollected taxes. Do you know, is it certain businesses in the TIF that aren't paid? So it's the ones that have gone out of business or something that haven't,
Right, they have the names. If you ask, you can get the names of the companies that haven't paid. Or the people
so
that
that's
haven't
what it
paid.
is, okay. All right, I just didn't know that would be going on, uncollected taxes from the TIF.
Yeah.
Boy, that's bad. It really is bad. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, it's a budget, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mrs. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. Gamble?
Aye.
Mrs. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Nielsen?
Aye.
Mrs. Witkowski?
Aye.
And I say yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
6-0.
I'm sorry. Oh, 6-0. One absent. Thank you. Thank you for all your work you did and for answering all the questions.
Welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we have, 8E, the board handbook review and approvals. If you can pull up the document, we had a committee of Mr. Lewis, Mr. Alexandrovich, and myself to go over the board handbook. And if you look at, let's see, page 3 of this, one of the first edits on this is the document is consistent with school board policy and will be reviewed annually. Well, when we put this together, that was put in here, but it wasn't reviewed annually because it wasn't said who was going to initiate reviewing it annually. And I did happen to go back over the meeting that day, and it was requested that we do it, but we didn't say who was going to do it. So this edit is in here to take it out because the committee felt it wasn't necessary. So that is the first edit. How does the board feel about that? Nothing really changes much in here, and you'll see most of the edits in here are, have to do with gender regarding the superintendent and board, he, she, and things like that. So hopefully we can go quickly through this.
Go through
So
every edit? How are we doing?
it's only going to take a few minutes because most of them are he, she.
Okay.
Can we say will be reviewed periodically? Otherwise, it's never going to be reviewed?
Well, I think it
think
will
it's
be,
understood.
I think it will be,
Periodically doesn't nail it down. I mean, so once every 100 years, that's periodically.
Well, it's kind of a reminder if you're reading through it.
I mean, as board policy changes, this has to be changed because this mirrors board policy, so.
So just like anything else, if there's a policy that changes and there's a ripple effect, then this
There's
affected,
external
so
drivers
I mean,
to this.
I'm fine with it.
The last change that happened was because the mission and vision changed, so that just, I updated it with that because that changed. I mean,
So I'm fine with it. You?
Yep.
unless you want to put a year in here every couple of years or something, but I think, Debbie, how do you feel?
I think it's fine the way it is.
I think, unless you just want to leave it on whoever is board president to just bring it when they know it should be done, you know?
What- Larry, as a new member, did you go through this handbook? Did somebody point it out to you, give you a copy?
It was pointed out to me,
Okay,
but wasn't force-fed or something like that.
Okay.
yeah.
I was wondering if a new board member would trigger something. I guess not.
Well, I brought this to us, so.
I would imagine that every time we get a new board member, and if whoever the board president is, they're charged with handing that new board member this document, they would hopefully skim through it before handing it to that new board member. So if they see something that is inconsistent or needs updating, then I would assume they would bring it to the full board, or as policy changes, as you said.
Or if a board member sees something they want to bring it, you can bring it. You know, there's no reason a board member can't bring it if they find something wrong with the handbook, too. Okay?
Is there anything in here on how it can be changed, or does it say
Is there any, pardon?
how revisions are made?
No, it's a handbook.
Yeah, it's not.
I don't think policies have anything written on how they are changed. They get brought before the board and they're changed and then they're noted when they're changed, just like this. adopted revised.
Although I do like the idea of the board president being responsible for the handbook, or, because like you said, it lacked direction and who, it just sits out there.
But I think the board president is tasked with making sure that it's consistent with board policy. That's what the document reads. So if there's a policy that's changed, that means the handbook has to change. And that's all the employment handbook is, right? If there's a policy change that ripple effects to the employment handbook, that's got to be addressed. So that's consistent with other wordings. I think most of us are fine with this.
The majority of us wants to move on, so I think. Okay, so the next change is on page 4, and it was under board authority and responsibility, and it was the removal of the word "free" in that first sentence. And the reason for that was because the Wisconsin Constitution says that is the legislation, it's under the legislation body for that. It's a right under the Constitution, although it still falls on us, but it was felt that wasn't necessary to be in there. How do you feel about that? As superintendent? It's just,
I was the one who brought it up, and Claude agreed, because we charge fees.
Right,
It's not free.
correct.
So
Well-
let's be accurate.
but, yeah, but, I mean, every student is, under the Constitution, is entitled, a resident is entitled to free public education, but there are specifics under that. But it's just, the state legislators require that, but no matter what, they're gonna get it.
You don't have to say it in your
We don't have to say it in our handbook.
Exactly.
That's it.
Compelled by law to do certain things, but
It's just not necessary in the handbook.
you don't have to say it in your handbook.
Is everyone okay with that change? Okay. Page 5, we added schools under board liaisons because that was added to policy and did not get added specifically to this. It was added under like administrative rule in the policy, so we thought it was fitting to add it to this. The bottom, under resignation of board members, the committee felt it was not necessary because under state statute, it says that this, if a board member resigns, they only are required to hand the resignation to the board clerk, and that it just was too much information in there. Just not necessary in the board handbook.
Fine with me.
Okay. Moving right along.
Linda?
Fine?
Okay. Page 6, Alan brought forward a bunch of, I'm going to put it on you,
Yeah.
he, she's, gender,
He's, she's,
Issues.
be specific. I think using the pronouns is being lazy.
so under conflict of interest, I just struck the first paragraph and just rewrote it to eliminate he, she, that's all that is.
Except that you did use a pronoun by saying their responsibilities in that second last line, as opposed to the board member responsibilities.
How many times do you want to say board member?
150, whatever it takes. This is just a personal thing with me. I don't think pronouns are the right way to do it. It can always be misinterpreted. Although here, where you're talking about board members, it's kind of hard to misinterpret.
I think that one's pretty cut and
It's in
dry.
the same sentence.
Yeah.
I don't,
So,
I think that's
I'm not
acceptable.
asking for a change. but-
Okay.
But I did
There you
notice
go.
it.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Everybody else is rolling their eyes, I get it.
Page 7 was important, let's see.
superintendent, you remove the word and.
Yeah, Claude brought up that after he just attended all of the school board meetings all the school buildings as a new board member, he felt it was important that all board members attend all school buildings as new board members, and we kind of agreed as a committee, at your orientation, you kind of should do that, rather than just a few, so.
Okay.
The last paragraph, it was just brought up, there was a run-on and repetitive sentences, so it was just, one sentence was taken out because it was repetitive, and it's just rearranged. There's nothing really missing, except for one repetitive sentence.
Okay.
There's nothing added, it's just. If you move to page 8, again, it's a gender issue. Superintendent of schools for he, she. And then that paragraph that's stricken, too much was said. This is the line taken out, and it's shortened. It was repetitive again.
Okay.
Page 9, it was just felt that an attorney isn't necessary for board members to contact for board policy because the superintendent is working on the board policies with school staff, district staff, and a board member could also, if they wanted to, contact WASB staff if they needed to, and it just wasn't needed in here. You can just contact them if you want. And the next paragraph again was taking out gender, and I just added the word said employment. I don't know, is everyone on 10 or still stuck on 9?
I'm on 10.
10 again is, 10, we decided we should consult Judy, Dr. Miller, for board members visiting schools and board member requests for information. This was from Dr. Miller's input. And she said it's up to the board whether they agreed with this, but it sounds appropriate, I think.
Mhm.
Give everyone time to read it.
It says in here, through the superintendent of schools and administration, so the request can be reasonably accommodated. So we had a question on the budget. You're not expecting that email go to you and then go to Jim. You're still saying that email can go to Jim and copy you in?
Right.
Okay.
Copy me.
Okay.
Any questions or comments on page 10? And there's nothing on 11. Page 12 was really based on gender. Everything was based on gender, except for the Freedom of Information Act was just, at the very bottom, was just spelling that acronym out.
I had a suggestion under board member attendance. In the last paragraph.
On page,
I'm on 12. On page, or were you on 11?
no.
No, okay. So the changes read, or it reads with the changes, if a board member is unable to attend a meeting, notification should be given to the board president and/or the superintendent as far in advance as is possible to ensure there will be a quorum in attendance. I think that should read that the notification must be given to the board president. And if our board wants to keep and/or superintendent in, okay, but I would have it read, must be given to the board president or its designee as far in advance as possible, in that the board president is the one who's making sure that we have quorum and that everything's fit for the board meeting, not necessarily the superintendent.
What's the ramifications of not giving the notification?
What's
Because
the difference
if
between
there's a
being-
must, there's got to be a
The
consequence.
difference would be between absent and excused, I guess.
Because Claude's not here today, and we knew about it in advance.
Right.
But if Claude got the flu and just didn't notify anybody, he was just too sick to come in, it would be an unexcused absence?
Well, we've had meetings where board members haven't attended and we didn't know they weren't attending.
Well, I agree.
So that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So I think where this reads should, like, yeah, I should, but I don't have to. I would encourage us to put must.
I don't think whether you use should or must is gonna change anything,
No.
because we're all adults here and we all make those decisions. So you can write should, or you can write must. And if someone's just not going to show up, or if someone gets ill and is unable to notify someone, then
Well, I
should or
get-
must isn't gonna make a difference. I mean,
Sure.
I can do should or must, it doesn't matter to me, but I don't think I agree with, Alan. If you're gonna say must, what's the consequence?
Just between being excused or absent, I guess, largely. I would hope we would all let the president know if we're not gonna be able to make a meeting. I don't see any reason why we can't,
Right.
so, but that would be my suggestion. Any thoughts?
I don't care, it's fine.
Must? You good with that?
I'd
I'm not opposed to must.
Okay.
it's a handbook.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the handbook.
All right. Well then,
Communicating intent,
okay.
must.
What was that?
It's communicating our intent and what our expectations are, so. I think must, it's a little stronger than should.
Okay.
Do you want, Larry?
Well, if everyone's ambiguous about it,
Yeah.
then it's fine. I'm just saying, we've had instances where people would not tell the president that they're not gonna be at a meeting. And I thought if we're doing the handbook, we put it in there. This is what you're expected to do. But if it's not that big a deal, then that's fine. So I think that's it for the changes then. Because there's nothing on page 13.
So are we all right with the way it is here then, the way it's presented? Or did you want,
I say leave it.
okay, then do I hear a motion to approve the changes to the board handbook as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Larson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nielsen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Okay, item 8F, the treasurer's report is available in the board docs library. 8G, the Forest Park construction report, Mr. Milzer.
Yes, the driveway continues to take shape. You can see they've, doesn't look like you can get in here, but you can. They do a great job of making sure we can, but sometimes you feel like you might be run over by a large piece of equipment coming in.
Or dragging bottom.
Exactly. And they just started on the right turn lane on Forest Hill on this side of the street, digging that out to get ready for that. In the music area, that's the area of the building that's farthest along. All of the door frames have gone in and are painted, and they're starting to paint the walls already in there. It's kind of amazing the way they do that. The building is in all different stages of completion as you go around. The steel columns are getting encased in drywall Wall studs and drywall are going up kind of in the center section, and electrical, plumbing, and HVAC are all going in at the same time, kind of throughout the rest of the building. The brick is still being installed. By the end of the week, all the brick will be done on the east side of the building. They're almost there now. And by the second week in August, it is all of the brick will be on and done. In Area C, the spray fireproofing is going in. The floor channels are being installed for the walls. Next week, they'll be out here with a big crane bringing in large HVAC air handlers and putting them into the roof mechanical room. It's amazing to see how large some of those air handlers are. Maybe you can walk through some of them. It's amazing. And windows will start being installed on the east side of the building next week as well. So it's coming along, and there's changes every day. So
How many are working on it?
they say there's about 100 people each day working on different parts of it.
If we wanted a tour, who do we talk with?
Yeah.
Who we coordinate that through, you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think probably in August would be a good time. Maybe we can put it together with the retreat.
Almost before all that stuff gets finished,
Yeah.
like before August. I don't know, I'd like to see what's going on inside.
The only thing that'll be done at that point is the brick on the outside. I mean, there's a lot of work to do on the inside. Like I said,
That's what I wanna see. I wanna see what's
first,
going on.
the first section, is farthest along, and that's good, but that's only a little piece of the building over here. And then as you go this way around the building, the end of it, there aren't any wall studs or anything. It's just plain concrete with holes in the wall, and you can see the ceiling. So there'll be plenty to look at, even at that point. Mhm.
So have you flushed a toilet yet?
Nope.
Nope.
Don't have any on site.
Okay. Check. Turn the light on?
No,
Nope,
Not that far.
not that far.
not that far. But the driveway's gonna be all done for the school year, right?
For the start of school?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be in, but it'll be like a lower base course. They won't,
finalize.
it won't be finished at the finished height. Mhm. That's what we'll have for another year. Any other questions?
Item 9, school board liaison reports, 9A. Do we have any? Or school visits? I
Summer school.
almost had one today, but I couldn't, so, okay. Then item 10, I'm looking for a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 Sub 1 Sub C to discuss employment, promotion, compensation, and performance evaluation data for the district administrator. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Witkowski, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nielsen? Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Gamble.
Aye.
Mrs. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Nielsen.
Aye.
Mrs. Witkowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Larson.
Aye.
And I say yes.
Motion carries, 6-0, 1 absent. Do we need a recess? Okay, we'll take about a 3-minute. Okay, we're back in open session at 8:35, and there's no action taken in closed session. So, future agenda items, the only future agenda item I'll talk about again is the board retreat, and that is on August 8th. And it is at 6 o'clock PM, but if board members want to come a little earlier at 5:30, we will be serving dinner. So is there any comments on that, or any other future agenda items?
Do we have all the evals in? No, are we all good to go over all that?
No, we're missing one evaluation.
If we get it in, how long does it take Megan to accumulate that or to get it ready for us? If we can get one more in.
we're only gonna have what we have.
So we have six replies, or
Um,
5, or what? How many do we have?
7 because of the administrators did one and
7.
Jeff did one, but they should have did 8.
Okay.
So we'll move on to item 12, school board debriefing. Are there any comments? Okay. Then item 13, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gamble,
Second.
second by Mrs. Witkowski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:37.